These people need absolutely no introduction from me because they're so awesome. You know them already. You know their accomplishments. They are, above all else, very attractive men, and both a lot more flexible than you would imagine. Please welcome to the stage Paul Lindbergh and Andy the Knife Jenkins.
That's about as flexible as I'm going to get. So, folks, I think one of the things I just wanted to make clear is that Paul, some of you know, Paul has played a very large role in StomperNet as of late, and at this point, my utility in the organization has been reduced to about 0. So I've been able to lose a little bit of weight, let my hair grow long. So I'm going to keep with that tradition and let him do most of the talking today. I might add the occasional color commentary. So I just wanted to set the expectation going forward. Is that okay? All right, great.
So that was like my get out of jail free card. Because this was all pretty impromptu. Andy was invited to speak here, and at the last minute he said, well, would you come up and talk about Formula 5? So that's what we're going to do. So would everybody please stand up? Everybody stand up. Everybody, you in the back too? Yeah, everyone? You all got to stand up? Okay, good. Now, pay careful attention. Keep standing if you think it would be a good idea to be able to double your business. So I'll give everybody a minute to sit down.
This is we're talking double your business is
this
profit.
is double your business.
Profit, not just top line
revenue.
revenue.
Good idea. Keep standing.
This is the money that you put into your pocket.
Right, okay,
Yes.
good.
Okay,
all right, so good. So this is good because it shows 3 things. It shows that 1, you know what you want, that's important. 2, it shows that you can follow instructions. Usually somebody messes that up and nobody did, right? And 3, it shows that you can take action. So that's cool because that's all you need to do. Great, sit down. Welcome to Formula 5. I'd like you to just answer a couple of questions for me. Just answer, very enthusiastically, of course, if you would like to learn right now how to double your business. Yes. Okay, good. And would it be okay with you if it was pretty easy to do? Yes. Okay, good. That wasn't very impressive.
Come on, guys.
So I'm going to give you one more chance. Otherwise, one more chance. Would it be okay with you if it was easy to double your business? Yes. All right, good. Much, much better. Thank you. Now, are you glad that you're here for this special closed-door session? Yes. All right, good. Thank you very much. Good. Why don't we get started here? I am going to talk today about something called Formula 5. And since I'm not really sure what I'm talking about, I'm going to use these slides. See, look. Everybody here said that you would like to learn how to double your business. And what I'm not going to give you is a bunch of techniques. What I'm going to give you is some core ideas that if you take them and you run with them, you will be able to make a huge impact in your business, potentially doubling it. And problem with seminars, people come to seminars. And you come to seminars to learn things. And mostly what people think is that their business is broken and it needs fixing. Or it's going to be like, just okay, if I could only just get that one thing that would make a critical difference for me, then I could get rich. And that's why, did anybody come to a seminar looking for like the one core idea? Nobody here. Yeah, I got one, thank you. Thank you for playing. Somebody's got to do that. So look, I've been an advisor to businesses for about 15 years. And I've helped a lot of people make a great deal of money. And one thing that I learned was that there was never just one thing. What there was an accumulation of a number of things that happened over the course of time. And that by continually being able to take action over a long span of time, great things happen to your business. So that's really what we're going to talk about now. See, in many cases, it doesn't matter precisely what you do. What only matters is that you actually do something and that you keep doing something. How many people here are StomperNet members? Any StomperNet members? Yeah, a bunch, okay. And is anyone here in the Formula 5 program? Okay, cool. So I need to remember that. You guys, you may have heard what I'm going to say. So if you want to stay, that's great. And if you want to take a break, that's okay too. But see, here's the thing. When we started talking about Formula 5, people were saying things like, well, you know, I've seen some of those ideas before. Well, I know that stuff. I've heard it before. And I would always say the same thing, which is I would ask them if they were using it. And then there'd be silence, and there would be some kind of uncomfortable back shuffling, and then that'd be the end of the conversation. Because the thing is, it's not so much what you know and what you've learned, but it's what you actually use, right? And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, for the next, I don't know, about 45 or so minutes, I'm going to talk about a few things, and I'd like you to be able to listen to it just as if you'd never heard it before. Listen to it as if it might be a fresh new idea, and just kind of wonder if it's something that would apply to your business and if you could use. And if you could use it to make money. Because what will happen to you, and I can promise you that this will happen, is that if you sit there and go, I heard that, I heard that, I heard that, I heard that, and you're not using those things already, then it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. And you're going to say, I heard that already, and nothing's going to happen. So my goal is that something happened to you. So let's just take it from there. In the end, it doesn't matter what you do, and it's really easy to reach the goals for your business. It's really actually pretty easy to double your business as long as you decide what it is that you're going to do and then just keep doing it. That's really what Formula 5 is about. Formula 5 is based on, and the things that I'm going to show you, and everything that I'm going to show you, I think all these things were invented by whom? The Sumerians.
The Carthaginians, actually.
The Carthaginians, the Sumerians.
The salt trading Carthaginians, remember?
I mentioned, I talk about upselling. You've heard about upselling before. People say, well, upselling, well, that's not new. That was invented by J. Abraham. He invented upselling. Right?
Not so much.
Right? J. Abraham didn't invent upselling, right? The Babylonians invented upselling. All these things have been around for a real long time. My experience is working with hundreds of people who have run businesses, anywhere from startups all the way to $50 million and more. I've worked with people who've run multi-billion-dollar organizations, but they don't count because their experience does not apply to you. But up to about 50 million, yeah, it applies pretty well. The owners of the businesses I've worked with have pocketed about $337 million so far. And I say so far because, once you put the systems in place, they keep paying out.
And I'm one of them.
And he's one of them. Have pocketed, a lot of money from this. So this is nothing that got made up, but it's stuff that we've learned over time. And we learned that there's 5 things that every sustainable, super successful business does. And it has a strong value proposition, which brings in substantial margins, right?
Does anyone else have an $800 a month membership program? Okay, so?
You know what you're talking about.
We know what we're talking about
here.
Right.
That you have a continual stream of new leads and business opportunities, right? Continual stream, that's the important part. That you can cost effectively convert those leads into customers, right? All these words are important. That you fully monetize the customers. Does anybody have a business where they sell somebody one thing and then they don't sell them anything else and then they have to go get new leads? We see these kind of businesses all the time. And then lastly, that it's efficient and effective to run the business, which means that you can make the kind of money we're talking about without having to do it for 24 hours a day, or something that approximates 24 hours a day. So this thing is a formula. This little system I'm going to show you is a formula. Every part of it goes backwards. Every part of it is necessary. If you do pieces of it, it'll still work for you. See, the interesting thing about this stuff is that anything that you do makes a difference, right? So any piece that you do is going to have an impact, but if you do all of it, it's going to have an effect that builds upon itself, and it's going to help you make a lot more money. Thing is, if you do part of it, yeah, you'll get a result, but you won't get all the result that we're talking about. I want to talk about compounding for a minute. One of the things that happens is when people are in the magic bullet business, the magic bullet's going to cure everything about your business, and it's going to do it all in one fell swoop. So if you want to double your business, well, I've got the system that's going to help you double the inflow of leads into your business. It's going to double it. And by doubling the inflow of leads, well, what's that going to do? Is that going to double your business?
No.
But you think it might.
That's right.
You think it might double your business. The problem with magic bullets is if you bet the farm on the magic bullet and it doesn't actually work, you're screwed. Because you've spent all your time and all your energy and all your hopes and dreams and wishes backing the magic bullet, and it doesn't make a bit of difference.
Hey, Paul, let me just ask this question. At one point, did you ever think when you were looking at your AdWords campaign budget that if you could just spend twice as much, you might be able to make twice as much? I know I did, right? If I know, okay, I'm going to spend $1,000 this month. If I spend $2,000 next month, I'll get twice as much business and twice as much profit.
And sometimes it works.
Has anybody ever done that? Is it working?
Not so much.
Not so much.
You laugh like it's happened to you.
Yeah, like that old kind of like, at least I'm smarter now about it, and then, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So this system that we're talking about here is built on a very simple idea, which is called compounding, which is that we looked at what things related to other things. So I'll give you an example. Say you get more leads. Say you get 15% more leads. And then you learn how to convert those leads better. And say you get 15% better at conversion. 15% is a magic number, by the way. If you get 15% more leads, and then you get 15% better conversion, that 15% conversion impacts the 15% more leads. If you then take all those new customers that you have, about 33% of them, all those new customers that you have, and then you start selling them more stuff, and then maybe you have an increase in your overall price level, all these things build upon each other. And what happens because of compounding is that small changes in your business build upon each other and lead to much greater impact in your bottom line. And the math that we did was, because we were looking for a small number of things. There's the whole vast array of ways to impact your business. But in Formula 5, we're looking for a small number of things that could be controlled by you that would be easy enough to do, that if you piled them one on top of the other would make a difference. So Formula 5, well, how many things do you think we're talking about in Formula 5? 5 things. Very good. You're all still here. So 5 things. And if you do 15% better in each of those 5 things, that will double your business.
So just to put this in perspective, in the American education institution, an A is anything that's 90% or above, right? And a C is 70% or above. An F is what, 60, 50? So 15% is like a J. That's why we call this double your business for slackers, because, and we'll go into this in a moment.
And it was originally called the J system.
The J system. In a moment, we'll go into some math, but increasing any one of these things in your business by 15%, I mean, literally, you could walk out of here, eat lunch, do about 5 minutes on one of these things, and that would happen, because it's like F-level work, complete slack or complete failure, and that's why I'm proud to endorse it.
Thing about it, what worries me when I hear people on the stage talking about the various things that they're offering, what worries me about it is I know they're really good at the thing that they're selling. And that part's, that's the nice part. The bad part is I know I'm not. And I sit there and I go, well, let's see, how much better do I have to be to get the kind of results that they're going to get? And I don't want to argue for mediocrity. We're not here to argue for Fs.
I kind of am, but that's okay. It's your show.
We're not really here to argue for Fs, but what we want to argue for is real people getting real results. And we came up with an approach to doing this that would be pretty easy to do. And just by making small, incremental changes to your business, you could get the kind of results that we're talking about. So I want to show you what this means. So we're talking about 15% better. And if you had 400 leads a month, it means you would get 457. It's not a huge jump. Closing 1 out of 6 customers. Anybody who's in face-to-face selling, 1 out of 6, I mean, that's not terrible. That becomes 1 out of 5. A $47 product, your typical $47 ebook that you sell, well, you'd price it at $53. Now, it doesn't end at a 7, so you might have problems with that. But it's not that much of an increase. $100 in revenue per customer becomes $115. Not very hard to imagine. This one's my favorite. We did some survey work. Well, let's do it here. Let's find out. Think about how much time you spend on an average workday. And I don't care whether your workday is 7 hours or whether it's 12 hours. How much time do you think you spend that really makes a difference to your bottom line? High valued, moves the value of your business forward on an average day. Who thinks they spend 5 hours? Not too many. 1. Okay, let's make it easier. Who thinks they spend 4 hours? 4 hours that really move the needle on your business. Right, okay, we're starting to get into reality zone here. Who thinks 3 hours? Okay, not so bad, look around, we got some 3-hour people there. 2.5 hours. Uh-oh, I'm getting worried. Now I'm starting to get worried.
I'm not sure that we can help
2 hours,
them.
raise your hands, come on. Raise your hands, 2 hours. Yeah, so we're between anybody less than 2 hours a day? Okay, 2 hours a day, high valued work. So look, I have talked to thousands of people. I've done surveys just like this, and we've done some formal surveys of a couple of thousand CEOs. And what we found, on average, no matter how much time you work during the day, the average business owner works about 2.5 hours a day of real time that makes money for the business. And in Formula 5, we looked at it, we said, wow, so 15% of 2.5 hours, that's 150 minutes, it turns out to be 22.5 minutes. So we're rounding up when we're saying if we could help you figure out your day in such a way that you actually spend 3 hours. Now this doesn't mean work more, right? In some cases it means work less. Right? One of our friends who's a Formula 5 customer took his business from a 12-hour day down to a 7.5-hour day and actually gets the same 3 hours done. So he did it a little bit differently. But the idea is that if you can get up to about 3 hours a day, the impact on your business could be what? Would it be large? Would it be significant? So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. So that's what 15% better looks like. So that was enough preamble. We call it throat clearing. If we don't tell you what it's about, then it's just stuff. I don't want to give you more stuff, right? I don't really want to give you a bunch of tactics and tips, right? I don't want to give you any tips. We'll probably give them some tips, though, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Right? My goal is not tips. My goal is to change the way you think about your business. So margin magnifier is the first part of our formula. And margin magnifier is very simple. Margin magnifier says that the amount of value that you are able to provide and communicate to your customers is going to impact their return on investment, their perceived return on investment, whether it is financial or personal or anything. That their sense of their own ROI on whatever it is that you're selling is going to impact the price that you can charge. And the price that you can charge is going to drive, in a very critical way, the amount of money that you get to take home.
Just a quick survey. How many people in this room think that their product is priced perfectly, right on the money? How many think that they're priced too low? How many think that they're priced too high? Everybody that didn't raise their hand when I asked you if you think you're priced too low is actually wrong. All of you, except about 3 of you, are priced too low in your product. And we can tell them that because everybody that's been in Formula 5, and I guess I'm kind of cheating ahead here. We're cheating. I'm not going to cheat anymore. Is anybody worried about maybe raising their prices in this recession? Who's worried about raising your prices? Okay.
When you raise your prices, it has one very important impact on your business, which is it increases the perceived value of your business. And you sit there and you smack your head and you go, people aren't idiots. That can't possibly happen. And yet it happens almost every single time. There was someone here who came up to me on Friday, and I'm sorry he's gone because it was an awesome story. And I said, what'd you do with Formula 5? He says, well, I haven't really done that much, but I'm happy. I said, well, tell me what you got. And he said, well, I raised my prices by 50%. He says, conversion has gone up by 15%, and I'm making 70% more money falling to the bottom line in this kind of environment. So look, we've got, how many people are in the program? There's
600, 700, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fall off. So I think it's somewhere around 650. And the people who have raised prices consistently are doing more business. Excuse me. Not only more volume, not only more raw dollars, but more volume, right? More sales. So these are the value drivers work like this. This is the piece that if you copy this down in your notes right now, would probably be really valuable for you. It's not a tip, it's an entire design for your business, which is that if you communicate a strong value proposition, which simply for you means that if you communicate your value proposition more strongly, or add to it just a little bit in some way that it will have a higher perceived effect on your customers, allowing you to increment your prices, and it doesn't take that much, right? Let me give you, actually, I'm going to give you an example in a minute, so I won't. And that will allow you to have a dramatic impact on your business. So here's the example. Can you read that? You guys read that? Let me just explain. This is very simple. Let's imagine you have a hard product that you sell for $39. I've got to read it. I don't know it from my head. And you have a unit cost. Is anybody afraid of math? Do you have any mathophobes? I always have some of them. You know, I can explain this again later, but just follow along because it's really important. So say your cost is $20, and let's skip to the thing. Let's say that what you have, because of that $39 product and that $20 cost of goods and cost of sales, you're making $32,000. Let's say that, okay? Because you're selling enough of them to do that. And what you do is you cut your price in response to competition. You think there's a recession on. Meanwhile, you haven't been marketing, but there's a recession on, and your competitors are cutting their prices, and so you're going to cut your prices in an effort to do more volume. Well, here's the fallacy. See, what happens is the $20 unit cost that you had before, that doesn't get lower. And all your fixed costs, they don't get any lower. The only thing that gets lower is what you have left. And if you cut, now this is, by the way, a 15% reduction in price from $39 to $35. It's $4, 15% drop in price approximately. And what it does is it completely wipes out all of your profits. Let me show you what happens on the other side. If you're able to do a little bit of marketing, if you're able to improve your value proposition in just such a way that you say, you know what, I could squeak out a little bit of an increase, and I raise my price from $39 to $43. Who thinks that that $4 impact, that $4 price increase would have a lot to do with selling less? Would you sell less? If you sold a little bit harder, you marketed a little bit harder, maybe you didn't even have to do anything. You do the same number of units, that $43 ends up doubling your net profit, right? Your net profit goes all the way up from $32,000 to $64,000 because you had an increase of 15%. It's pretty straightforward. The key to doing this is that your costs don't change. People forget about that when they discount. They don't realize that what they're typically discounting away is almost all of their profits. Let's look at another example. I'll show it to you in a different way. Say you're selling an information product, it's $297. Cost of goods and cost of sales, $154. You say it's an information product, it doesn't cost anything. Yes, but you have your affiliate costs, right? So you've got these variable affiliate costs, $154. You've got some unit costs. You actually do have to fulfill the thing. Cost you $4. You're selling 359 of them, blah, blah, blah. You get all the way down to the bottom. You're not making a lot of money, $27 as it turns out, after you pay for your overhead. So you might say, well, I don't have any overhead. I'm working out of the back bedroom. There's no real rent. But you have cost of living. So let's say it's that. So this is a small business. Net profit after you pay yourself $27, not so much. So let's say you cut your price because you want to increase the volume. You look at it and you go, well, $27, I have to make more money. Maybe my price is too high. I'll cut it, right? So you cut your price, $197. Your variable drops, right? Your costs drop because it's an affiliate commission. So that drops too. It's down to $109. You're still selling the same amount of units. Your fixed expenses, however, are still the same. And all of a sudden, you are in a loss position. You're losing $20,000. Okay. Now, you could still sell more and break even, right? But so you went from $359 to basically break even to now you have to sell almost twice as many units, 593, to break even. Or if you sell the same number, you lose money. You guys following me? I know this is a little rough, but here's what happens if you raise the price.
There's a lot of math, man, a lot of numbers.
Watch this. $397. What we've done is we've increased the price $100. Anybody sell an information product for $297 or anything remotely like it? Is there a big difference between selling a $300 product and a $400 product? I don't think there's any difference at all. I mean, the only difference is the price you put on the sales page. Because at that price, you're in a zone where there's a lot of flexibility. You know, there's price points, and between $297 and $500, there's not a lot of difference in terms of responsiveness. So you raise your price to $397, you're doing the same number of total units, and all of a sudden, you picked up $20,000 because your costs didn't vary that much. That's the magic of this thing. So when we talk about increasing the value and using value to drive price, see, look, here's the truth. If you're Costco, if you're Home Depot, if you're Walmart, and you've got enormous bank accounts, you can compete on low price and you can make money because you've got small margins, you got these little small margins, 6, 7, I think Costco operates on a fixed 7% gross margin, but they do such enormous volume that it ends up piling up and turning into a whole lot of money. Does anybody here have a huge bank account? I mean huge. Even you don't have a huge bank account, right? Nobody here has the kind of bank account that can take these little tiny profits and turn them into huge amounts of money. Whereas instead, what you can do is compete harder, right? Low prices are for lazy marketers. And what we're talking about here is figuring out what the key things that your customers care about and giving them more of that and then charging full value. How much was Serializer?
Was it $10,000?
Frank did a seminar called Serializer about
10,000?
2-3 years ago. That was $10,000 a seat, and it sold out in minutes. Why? Because people knew that there was value there. How much is StomperNet on an annual basis?
$9,600?
$9,600 on an annual basis, and it is the largest organization selling internet marketing training in the world, right? And not only is it the largest, it's the most expensive, right? Why? Because the value's there. How many videos?
1,400?
1,400 videos. How many hours of video? A lot.
A year's worth, I think.
Right? A lot. So the value proposition is there, and the best price is not the lowest price. The best price is the price that brings in the most money. So I threw a lot of math at you, and I probably shouldn't have done that on Sunday afternoon. But I just wanted you to think about that. I want you, if you walk away here and you say, let me see if I can raise my price by 10%. Now, depending upon what your margins are, a 10% price rise could drop as much as a 50% increase to your bottom line, depending upon what your margins are. Is anybody here willing to do that? Raise your price? Just do it. Anybody do that? Good. I applaud you to do that.
For the people that didn't raise, what else do you need? Honest to God, you could do this after lunch and almost double the amount of money you put in your pocket.
Here's the thing.
Would you like that? Can we do the NLP thing? Maybe, yes, you'd like all right, well, they don't want it. Well, thank you, and we'll see you all later.
This is what we're talking about here is that you could, you could raise your prices. Here's what will happen. 1 of 2 things. 3 things can happen. You can sell more, you could sell the same, or you could sell less, all right? Depending upon how much you raise your price and you sell more, that could mean a lot more money to you. If you sell the same, it could mean a lot more money to you. And if you sell less, you still have to sell a fair amount less to wipe out the price increase. And if you're really doing badly, then you stop doing it and you put the price back to where it was before. Anyway, I urge you to take that on. Let's talk about pricing tactics. I want to just give you a few ideas to think about. You can just raise your price, and that's what I'd invite you to do. You can raise them periodically. In other words, you could slip in a 1 or 2% price increase right now. See what happens. If it works out, a few weeks from now, you do another one. Works out, a few weeks now, you do another one. This is what the Formula 5 customers are doing. They're like, well, I tried a 5% price increase, and nothing happened. Nothing happened, meanwhile, means that business stayed flat, right, which is good. So nothing happened. Okay, well, I threw in another 5% price increase. Well, nothing happened. Okay, I threw in another 5%. Oh, okay, nothing happened. Fourth time, there was pushback. Fourth time, volume dropped off a little bit. Wow, oh my gosh, 15% price increase. Volume keeps steady, 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 steady. He hits a wall, backs it back down. Not bad. Try it. So just raise them periodically. You could actually test. You could run a test. You could say an A/B test with pricing, see what works better. You could do a pricing survey. You can ask your customer base, what would they be willing to pay? You can create a stronger value. By the way, all those have nothing to do with improving your value proposition. Then you could actually improve your value proposition, right? You could give them something more and charge them more for it. You could just demonstrate ROI better. You could sell bigger packaged products and bring in more money that way. So in other words, that's what Costco does, right? There's all sorts of ways to raise pricing, but I mean, before, when we're done, between now and whoever speaks after us, you like run up to your room, hit your shopping cart, and do some price testing and make more money before the day's over. I think that would be cool. So I wanted to show you a little case study. A little couple of case studies. So this was my own product. This is an information product that showed people how to systemize their businesses. I first sold it for $1,700. I then increased the price to $2,500 and sales went up. Okay, so I made more money. I then increased the price to $3,000 and sales went up and I made more money. The price had absolutely nothing to do with how many I sold. I just kept making more money. The thing now sells for $5,000 online. We typically sell it for $3,600 when I sell it in a room like this. But the price doesn't matter that much. It's just a very simple example. Made a lot more money. Here's another one. I have a client who sells, we call it seats, software. And the seats were originally $5,000 each. And what they did was they improved their value proposition. In other words, they were communicating value in a more strong way, and they were able to raise their price to $6,000 with absolutely no decline in volume. So that was pretty good. So then the economy started to slip. We created ROI case studies, which showed what people would get from doing this thing. Now we actually did the little work. So we created ROI case studies. We raised the price to $7,000, no pushback. I said, do it again. So we raised the price to $7,500. Business is coming in at a rate that they can't handle it. In other words, there's just more coming in. And there's absolutely no impact. The increase in revenue on a per-seat basis is now up to 50%. The last line is the really interesting one because their operating profits have gone up over this period of time 530%. So this is what's possible for you. I have no idea whether your product is priced right or not. It could be, but I bet you it's not. And it's not because most marketers, most of us, are scared about what's going to happen and we don't do it. So try that. We teach this first, and in Formula 5, we teach the whole system of how to do this first because it impacts people's businesses almost instantaneously. There's something called sales stackers. So sales stackers is all about increasing the amount of money the amount of business that you do with each customer. Because look, here's the thing. This data comes from a guy named Harry Mills who wrote a book called The Rainmaker's Toolkit. He also wrote a book called Selling the Invisible, which I recommend. Mm-hmm. Rainmaker's Toolkit, not so much. But he says the chance of selling a new product is 1 in 8. The chance of selling an old customer is 1 out of 3. And the chance of selling an active customer is 1 out of 2. So what would you rather do? Who would rather sell a new customer? How many of you here spend more of your energy trying to sell new customers? How many here are not telling me the truth? Because it's just not true, right? It's just not true, right? The whole idea is that once you get an active customer, you can continually sell them increased value proposition things at increasingly higher amounts of money for just about forever, as long as you continue to create things of value for them. That doesn't mean you shouldn't create new customers. You always need both. You want to balance both if you want a long-term sustainable business. You want new customers, and you want to sell new things to your old customers. The idea is to have a balance of both. Sales stackers is a whole host of different ways. There are how many?
238.
There are 200. I didn't know this. We created this course, and Janine, who is Andy's wife, started counting. And she started counting how many different tactics we were advancing in Formula 5.
We were eating our own dog food. We had to actually create and display the value proposition. We just had no idea how many were there. So I said, here, would you count this, please, while I make the video?
So we got 238. Now, here's the thing. We know there's more.
We lied.
But we stopped because 238 was a cool number. So we've been saying it forever, but there's actually more. So look, I told you this. Here are things that you need to know. I'm not going to teach you these. I want you to think about them. You probably know most of these things. Does anybody know what it costs to get an average customer? Who knows what it costs them to get a customer? Not so good. All right. Thank you. Who knows what their average transaction size is? This is show of hands. When I stick my hand up, it's like a show of hands. Okay, good. That's better. That's a lot better. Average frequency of purchase. Who knows that? All right. So look, who knows how long you keep your average customer? Show of hands. All right. So here's the thing. Oh, one more. Lifetime customer profit. If you don't know the last one, you can't know your lifetime customer profit. What's your lifetime customer profit? Do you know? So you keep an average customer for a certain period of time. Over the course of time, they spend a certain amount of money with you. No. Okay. So look, here's the thing. Those 5 numbers, write them down. Cost of customer acquisition, write it down. Average transaction size, frequency of purchase, life of the customer, which is how long you keep them, and the lifetime value, which could also be lifetime profit, which is actually what it says. It's not what I'm saying, but it's what it says. So look, write those things down and learn them for your business, because those are the keys to the kingdom. Those are the keys to making your business make you tons more money, and in a few minutes I'll show you why. Who does upsells? Shame on the rest of you. Okay, so does everybody know what an upsell is? An upsell is when you sell them something else past what they were going to buy originally. Right? That's the pretty simple definition of an upsell. They were going to buy something from you. It's what you marketed with. It was your lead-in product, and it had a price associated with it, and you pretty much at this point persuaded the customer to pay that price, and then you offer them something else. This is not bait and switch. This is increasing value. So if you like this thing, would you like this thing over here? I'll give you a classic example. It's when you go to buy a car and they sell you just about everything under the sun. It's all an upsell. When they sell you that undercoating, we don't have that in California, but if you live in the Northeast, you get an undercoating with your car. That's an upsell. It brings in more profit than the whole car, right? They sell you a extended guarantee. That's an upsell. They sell you the rims. My Range Rover, the only possible upsell was rims. Rims. And I burst out laughing at the guy.
The 20-inch rims,
don't need
right?
rims,
Yes.
right?
Because you need those fat hammers.
In San Diego, we don't do like a lot of, I live in San Diego, we don't do rims. So those are all upsells. And it's just simply that you are offering something for sale, which is a good thing and that people want. It creates value and it has a price tag. And then once they've made the decision, you offer them something else. That's the upsell. And having an upsell program can double your profit. It can triple your profit. It can quadruple your profit. It can do more than that. When we were selling Turnkey Your Business, which was originally $1,700 and then ended up at about $3,000, I had an upsell, which was a $95,000 We Do It For You program. I've only sold about 5 of those things, but think of the additional profit. Astounding. So that's kind of the other range of what an upsell can be. A resell, very simply, where you have a program to go offer them more. A program, not a catch as catch can, not that it might happen maybe someday if they think of us when they need the thing again, but you should actually have a systematic, structured program where you go back and re-offer what you're selling, or you offer the blades that go with the razor, that kind of thing. And then there's cross-sell, which is you just sell them something else. Most of the people in this room, people who are customers of Frank's and customers of Stompernet and customers of all the people here, we all know about these things. The problem is so many of us aren't doing them. And all these things add tremendous, astounding value to your business. Who's got a resale program in place? Yeah, it's never a big number. Anybody have a cross-sell program in place where you systematically, we got a couple, we do. It's always the same people, by the way, where you systematically inquire into what else would my customer want to buy. You ever ask that question? Well, who are my customers? Frank talks about that. He talks about doing a deep dive into who your customer is. But then the next question is, and what else would they want to buy from me? I have divorce lawyers who want to know that question, right? For you, everybody divorce lawyers here? Because for everybody else, except for divorce lawyers, this is pretty easy. They want other things from you. And all you have to do is figure out what it is. And if you don't know, you do a survey. Okay. A couple other things to think about. These are some ways, by the way, to increase the money that you make from an existing customer, which is we have a thing called the ladder of intimacy, and the ladder of intimacy is a real cool idea. Information products, people, who sells information products here? Yeah, let me do that differently. Who doesn't sell information products here? Yeah, okay, good, thank you. So look, so anybody who's in the information products business, this is a really powerful idea. It's called the ladder of intimacy. And it works like this. You typically sell a product which is just sort of a hands-off kind of product. It could be a PDF, it could be an ebook. And from the ebook, you can increase the ladder of intimacy. Now, one thing that does that very simply is voice, audio. Audio is more intimate than a PDF. It gives people a greater personal connection with you. From audio, you go to video. Now, should you go straight to video? No, because you've got multiple price points in there. Right now, you go to video. Video is more intimate than audio. It gives people a greater connection with you. From there, you can go to a teleseminar or a webinar, which is more intimate than a teleseminar. From a teleseminar, you can go to a live event sort of a thing. Now, a live event is much more intimate. Then from a live event, you can have a closed-door mastermind workshop. And as you know, the difference between one and the other could be tenfold. It might be $2,000 for the live event and $20,000 for the closed-door mastermind group. And from there, it's one-on-one personal retainers. Mine is $50,000 to $100,000 for a personal retainer. So depending upon what kind of information you sell, you can bring in some substantial amounts of dollars by going up the ladder of intimacy. And it's just as it says, it's bringing people closer and closer and closer in. Now, not everybody wants to work that hard. You might want to stick to, PDFs and audio and video. But each of those things has a greater intimacy and a greater price tag and a tremendous effect on your bottom line. Increase your average transaction size. Figure out how to do that by bundling things, by selling more products at once, by having subscriptions to things, by having memberships, but then they get prepaid, right? So that they're giving you more money at once. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have them pay 12 times up front? So in other words, let's say you have a $100 a month subscription program. Would you rather have them pay you for a full year for $1,000, or would you rather have them pay you the $1,200 over 12 months? You'd rather have the first one, right? Why? Breakage, exactly, they might drop out. You'd always rather get the money up front and have the larger transaction size. You can extend the life of the customer. You can increase frequency of purchase. How? Well, by giving them more things to buy from you. You can back end each and every sale. Every time they buy something from you, a short time later, you offer them something else. And if you do that enough times, one of two things will happen. Either they'll buy or they'll leave your list. Either one is fine. Right? Better if they buy, but if they leave your list, they weren't buying anyway, so you may as well keep doing it. Continuity programs, you've all heard about that. Just staying in touch with the customers, just having a program which reaches out to them and finds out how they're doing will increase your sales. And then reactivation is one of those things that our clients have made tons of money with, which is going through those dead customer lists and making them you can't say no type of offers. So those are some ways to increase the revenue per customer. Here's another little case study. So I had a client who was actually here on the first day. I cannot say who it is. It's a big deal internet marketer. Was selling a $19 ebook in the money for nothing space, and I'll leave it at that. Very profitable business, making $2 million a year. So nice business, right? No back end. So every sale was a brand new sale. And they were great at new sales, right? Generating $2 million profit off of this thing. So we added a seminar. So the seminar brought in 900 attendees. They paid $500. They made $450,000. And they thought it was a total failure. Why? Because it was a total failure against the $2 million they were making. So then we added a subscription program at $19 a month. And tripled annual revenues. That's the kind of thing that you can do when you figure out what it is that your customers want, right? What else? I have another little case study. So this was a client of ours who they had an exercise program for plus-size women. So they were marketing to large women. They added an immediate upsell on the thank you page after the initial transaction. Now, what's cool about this is they were one of those people that they were sitting in the seminar, it was a workshop. They were sitting in the workshop, they were online, and they did this while they were sitting in the back of the room. And this was on a Saturday. And by Monday, they had increased their business by 200%. So this is the kind of stuff. So again, I don't know if we have wireless in here, and I don't want you to take time out from this valuable presentation. But when you're done, right? When you're done. So look, I want to provoke you. I want you to think about this. I want you to realize that you're leaving money on the table. How do I know that? Because you're business people and you're leaving money on the table. Your prices are too low, you're not selling your customers enough, and the way to do that is easy. My goal is not to have anybody work too hard. Who here is free time?
Just
no
raise-
hands, go up. I got one hand over here. I have one hand, which is also the same guy who works 5 hours a day. There's an interesting correlation there, right? But not too. I didn't see any free hands times here. Oh, we have one. Okay, good. So those of us who are fully engaged in our businesses, free time is not. There's not a whole lot of free time in this room. So my goal is not to give you more work to do. And if you've been paying attention, you'll realize these things don't take a lot of extra work. They just take thinking about your business a different way. All right, what else do we have here? Conversion control. So conversion is turning leads into customers, and I have to go through this pretty quickly. So look, here's what I know. I know you know how to do this already because you're still in business. If you didn't know how to do this, you'd be out of business. But fixing just one thing, one or two things in your business could immediately drop 15, 20% more customers into your funnel. And your job is simply to figure out what it is. You don't have to reinvent what you're doing. You just have to figure out what's working and what's not working. And, it could be any of these things. Your offer could stink. So that's a little harder, you have to fix it. Your headline could be bad. Those things are easy to fix. You might need a guarantee. Who's got a great guarantee? Killer guarantee.
Guarantee.
Killer guarantee. Huh. Okay, so good. The rest of you need a killer guarantee. I did some work. I had a realtor in. Now, this is not recently. I have to, truth and disclosure. But it was a few years ago before the market tanked. We had a realtor, and we were talking about guarantees. And she says, well, I said, what is the most outrageous, awesome guarantee that you could think of that you'd be willing to make, right? That you'd be willing to make. That's important. And she didn't bat an eye. She said, I'd be willing, and here's what it became. It became that we will agree on a price and a length of time it will take to sell your house. And based on that agreement, if I don't sell your house for at least as much money as I said I would, when I said I will carry your mortgage. So that was her guarantee. Now, you couldn't make that guarantee now unless you're really crazy. But a couple of years ago, you could absolutely make that guarantee. And she went out there. Now, again, this was on a weekend workshop, and this was on a Saturday, and she had 2 listing meetings that night and closed them both. And her listings went up 70% as a result of a guarantee. Now, that's a pretty balls-out kind of guarantee, but that's what I'm talking about. If you believe in your product or service, if you believe in what you're doing and you trust your customers, trust your market, you make these kind of absolute wild balls-out guarantees, and your business will rocket because all the risk is gone, right? You've decided to own the risk for them. So these are some of the things that you can do to improve your conversion. The point is, you want to look at what's working and then figure out what's not working and fix those things. Now, that sounds like simple advice, except nobody's doing it. So there's a thing that you can use which is called, it's called funnel testing. It's also called click path testing. And I'll just give you a short little tip. We explain this in Formula 5, but the short little tip is you can use Google Website Optimizer to do this. And you set up goals at each stage of your conversion process, and you look and see where you're losing your customers, right? Because you're losing them. 100% come into your funnel, and at each stage of your process, you're losing people. And you look at where you're losing the most, right? Where's the biggest drop-off from one stage to the next? And where you have the biggest drop-off, focus your attention on that, and just make it better. And now you do regular testing. You do split testing to figure out how to make that thing better. And I know Morgan was talking about it before. You just split test to make that piece better. And when that piece is better, then you say, all right, first of all, you probably made a big impact at that point. But now you do the test again. You say, all right, where are my customers falling off? And then you fix them. And where are they falling off? And you fix them. Right? You've all seen this where in the middle of your sale, so we're about to go to the cart, and the page pops up and asks for your name and email address. And sometimes that's kind of an annoyance. Well, why are they doing that? I just want to close the deal. The reason they're doing that is that the transaction breaks. And we were in the middle of a launch, and the launch wasn't going as well as we wanted it to be. But we had 800 people who had broken in the middle of the transaction. And so I sent him an email, and I said, hey, I noticed you wanted to buy our thing, and you didn't buy it. What's up? And I gave him a big multiple choice, and where we dialed in was a pricing issue, and then I made them an offer, a subjunctive offer, very soft, and I said, well, if it were this price, would you be interested? The response was overwhelmingly yes. We repriced the product and sold it out. So the idea of being able to get in the middle of different pieces of your conversion process and see where you're losing them is very powerful, because then you can fix those parts just through testing. So those are the things I urge you to look at. I told you this case study, and it was a pretty cool one. Here's another one. This is very simple. It's very simple, and it's very exciting. So these guys were, they were selling a pretty expensive product, $100,000 product. And they did this thing which was called Wimp Junction. And where they were losing the transaction was when they made their proposals. This was an offline transaction. And they were losing them in the proposal stage. And I got them to stop doing proposals the way they were doing. It was very simple. It was a question of who they were proposing to. We figured out very simply that if they proposed to the chief medical officer, they won the deal. And if they proposed to anybody else, they lost the deal. It was very binary. And I said, stop doing that, right? Stop doing that. Only propose to the chief medical officer. And I said, well, we can't do that. Well, why not? Nobody will let us in. I said, so what? He says, they'll throw us out. I said, you're not making those deals anyway. Who cares, right? So it's like, wow, it takes a while to figure this out. But they finally got the message. And they started selling only to those people, as it says here. Their close ratio went from 25% to 75%, and the business jumped in a very short period of time from $1 million to $8 million. Now, I don't know if that would happen to you, but it might if you take the time to figure out which parts of your process are broken and then fix those. So I've got a couple more things I'd like to show you here very quickly. Lead landside. So I told you there were 5 things that people had to do, and the 4th one is simply you do need more leads. At a certain point in time, you need more new, fresh business opportunities coming in. And once again, you already know how to do this because you already have it. You have business coming in, but Andy alluded to this earlier. Question I would ask you is, do you have an AdWords campaign or do you have a business? Because people who are running their business off of one lead source are in grave danger. Who here's business is driven primarily from Google? Anybody? All right, that's not bad. That's good. So y'all are at risk. Right? You know that. You're at risk. Because Google is this big and willful beast beholden to no one. And they can pretty much do whatever they want. Now, I don't think they're evil. I just think they're looking out for their interests, not yours. Right? And if they're looking out for their interests and not yours, one day your interests will divide. And at that point, your business goes south. Everybody get hurt in a Google slap ever? There have been several. People have lost fortunes. And they lost fortunes because their whole business was dependent on it. Now, it's this great lead source, and you go, oh, I love them, and it's free, and it's this, that, and the other thing. Yes, it is, and it's all good, but it's dangerous. So I'm not saying do anything to destabilize that piece of your business, but you must add more. So the simplest thing to do, and 2 lead sources are good, 3 lead sources are better than 2, 4 are better than 3, 5 are better than 4, and so on and so forth, right? You've got to diversify your lead sources. Online is good, multiple online sources are good, offline complementing online is good, multiple offline sources is good. So anything that you can do to diversify the kinds of leads that you get is going to make a powerful difference for you. Simply, you can do more of what's already working. So I'll tell you a funny story. Formula 5 customers who heard talk very similar to this, and I asked the question, I said, what are you doing that you could do more of? And most of their business driven online, but they had 2 joint venture partners who were responsible for about 30% of their business, not bad. I said, why don't you get another one, right? So they started networking, and in the room that we were in, and they picked up 2 more joint venture partners. And what happened? Those joint venture partners, as powerful as the first ones, their business grew by another 30%. So it's like that kind of stuff can happen, and I urge you to look at what parts of your business are you underdoing that you could actually do more of. And it's a pretty simple question, but it could make a big difference for you. You know, if you have one AdWords campaign and it's working, you might put on a second one. If you've got keywords that are working, you might find more and optimize some of those. If you have JV partners, you can add more JV partners. Almost anything, if you have salespeople, you can add more of those, right? So anything that you're doing can be duplicated. And that's good. But at the same time, you can then diversify. Who's got a strategic referral program? That means a systematic referral program, which means that you systematically go after all of your customers to get them to refer new business. So that's something good. Is it working? Good. So we've got somebody. Thank you. Do that. Right? How can you generate referrals from your customers? What kind of strategic alliances can you develop? When I consult with people, we do a lot of hot seats in Formula 5. And that's the first thing I ask. It's like, all right, who can drive business to you? And we're not talking about, you know, what do we call them? We're not talking about affiliates. We're talking about people who control markets. And if you have something to bring them, is what you have something that'd be of interest to their people, and it's not even always about money for them. It can be about prestige. It can be about helping their customers. It can be it's a cool idea and they're interested in it. Or it could be because they sell you, it helps them make more money because it adds value to what they do. So those are the kinds of things that you can do. And then, of course, ask that question. How else can I reach prospects? Most people get inertia. They get inertia and they say, everything's fine. All you have to do is tweak it a little bit. No, you don't have to tweak it a little bit. You have to diversify. Right? So diversify. Look at other ways to reach your markets. Spend more money on marketing. That's the other thing you have to think about. The reason I asked you to think about those numbers earlier is so that you can figure out how much money you can spend on marketing, because almost everybody is spending too little, except in the area of affiliates where you're probably spending too much. Right? So everybody's spending too little on marketing because you're not maximizing the amount of customers that come in. So it's just something I urge you to think about. Are you spending enough on marketing? I consult with a software company. I come in, and they're very proud of their 2% marketing budget. I'm like, oh my God, that's why your business isn't growing. And you get them to spend more, and all of a sudden more money comes in. You think we could spend a little more? Yeah, more money comes in. You think we could spend a little more? And so on. Okay. I talked about these earlier, so you gotta know your numbers. If you know your numbers, you can figure out what you can spend to get a customer, and then you can spend all the way up to that limit. If you do that, you know, if you figure out that you could spend $50 to get a customer and you're optimizing and you're spending 20, and if you say, wow, well, what would happen if we actually spent more to get that customer? You could be driving a whole lot more customers. Now, your net profit might go down per customer, but your volume could go up so much higher as to swamp the profit box. So that's what I want you to think about. Don't be thinking about how much money we make at the very end of the process for one customer, but think about how much money you're making. And when you know these numbers, you can be comfortable that you're making the right decisions. If you don't know these numbers, it's likely to you're going to lose your business, so don't do that. Learn the numbers. So these guys were selling reconditioned office equipment, big printers. Business was totally driven by AdWords, maxed out, and highly vulnerable. Right? So what they added was banner ads. I mean, who does banner ads anymore? They added banner ads. They started using Craigslist, and I had them doing outbound telemarketing. We hired a bunch of telemarketers and a manager for them. And the business jumped from $71,000 to $115,000 a month. I mean, that may be small or large to you, but I thought it was a pretty cool jump. I have another one. This guy was in a waterproofing business. I'll just cut right to it. So this guy told me, this was in August, and they told me that it was in July. And they told me that August was always their worst month. Always, always, always. So this was July, and August was, sure enough, their worst month. But what we did is we put a marketing calendar in place. And what that meant was they were going to do a different marketing action on a consistent scheduled basis from now until the end of time. And they did it. Right? And they added basically 5 different layered marketing strategies. They executed for a full year. So here's what's happened. It's been about 2 years since then. And since then, their numbers have gone up month after month after month after month. And the first August was not only their best August ever, it was their best month ever. And then the second August was the best month ever. And it's been happening consistently, and they're in a down, they're in this economy, and their business is still growing because they keep adding marketing strategies. This is what people feel like because you're doing everything, because this is what your org chart looks like. So when your org chart looks like this is definitely how you feel at the end of the day. And I don't want you to feel that way. Because people who feel this way, they listen to all our ideas and they go, boy, those all sound easy. They even sound like I could do them, but where am I going to get this done? So here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you that if you're able to focus on the things that matter and stop doing the things that don't, I mean stop. I mean, it really doesn't matter if you're late on your taxes. I know your accountant will tell you this different, and it may even cost you something, but in the grand scheme of things, if your business has come along and you're devoting all your energy to it, that you will make more money, including what you have to pay on penalties. Now, that's an extreme example. Right? And I don't want you to wreck your credit rating or lose your house or anything like that. But just about everything else could probably wait. And there are things that you do in your business that make extreme amounts of money for you. And then there's everything else. So I would just ask you to imagine for a minute. Who knows what the highest value thing in their business is? One person. Okay, who knows what they think the top 3, let's make it easier, the top 3 most valuable things in your business? That's a lot better, thank you. Good thinking. So here's the thing. If you spent all of your time on those top 3 things and didn't do a single other thing, would you make more money? Why aren't you doing it? You don't have a good answer. I'm just going to tell you. You don't have a good answer.
And that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine because there is no good answer.
That's right.
There's no good answer. Well, I can't build my business today because I have to handle the payroll. Send it out, right? I can't do the business, I can't make more money today because I have to fill in the blank, write that down, fill in the blank, and then stop doing it. So, Turbo Thruster is a series of specific tools to do that, but you don't need to know any of that. All you need to know is what I just told you. And if you remember that, just remember this question, write this down. Am I doing my highest value, write this down. No, those of you who aren't writing, write it down. Am I doing my highest valued activity right now? Train yourself to ask that question as many times as you can think of it during the course of a day. And if the answer is yes, God love you and keep doing it. And if the answer is no, stop what you're doing and go do that thing which is the highest valued activity. You do that for a week, you'll probably double your income. You do that from now until the rest of the time, I can't be responsible for what happens. So look.
Don't be late on your taxes.
Don't be, then you really don't want to be late on your taxes. Then you really don't want to be late on your taxes. You owe a lot of money, So look. Here's how you quickly fix any business. One of the things we teach we teach systemization, so I'm going to give you the shortcut on how to systemize a business. This is the shortcut, and this will work, by the way. Figure out what the most important things in your business are. There's typically anywhere from 3 to 10 of things that you would consider the most important value-contributing things that make the biggest difference in your business. Figure out what those are and make a list. Develop a measurement for each one of them. So for instance, if you say it's lead gen, well, that's pretty easy, right? Well, lead gen's the most important thing. And what is it? How do we measure it? How many leads come in on a particular day, week, or month? Okay, good. What's another thing? Well, maybe it's conversion. You say conversion, well, how do you measure that? Well, number of customers it takes to get one, or rather number of prospects it takes to get a client. That might be one way, okay? Maybe cost per customer acquisition is another way. So those are 2. What else? Maybe it's product development. I don't know what it is in your business, but figure out what the most important things are. Then set a goal for each of those things to make it better. And I don't care if it's 5%, 10%, 15%, 100%, 1%, doesn't matter. Set a goal to make that thing better. You now have a way to measure it. And then set about making it better. You have to fill in the blanks, like what that is. But this is a program, by the way, that I get paid a lot of money for. And if you just do that, I get paid $25,000 for a weekend to teach that to individuals. You just got it for free. Right? But seriously, if you take that on, it's going to blow your business out the doors. And then you create little systems for each of those things that you were improving. And if you do that over the course of time, you have a completely turnkey business. Couple of case studies. We had this home rehabbing business. And this was somebody who was working 48 hours a day and was so skinny, it was unbelievable, because he was just working all the time. And they implemented the turnkey business. They systemized the entire business from top to bottom. They did it way beyond what I would possibly do. They reduced what they call non-performance related interruptions, in other words, things that they weren't planning on, by 90%. And this was where the profits came in. They decreased work redos, which is the bane of any contractor, right? If you have to do it over, you lose money. You know, you do it the first time, you priced it in, but you do it over, you lose your shirt. And they reduced work reduced by 60%. And they did that in a very short period of time. And as you said, you know, he increased his time, his selling time by 6%. He never told me 6 hours, never told me how much money he made, but I know it was a lot of impact. This one's even more fun. So this guy sells used printing equipment, and this is a different printing equipment company. This is like big, heavy industrial printers. And the guy had the company for 23 years. He knew everything there was about it. He had 2 salespeople who had been with him forever and couldn't train new ones. So he was maxed out, and they were making $6 million a year, nice, profitable company, good deal. I taught them our methods for how to systemize the sales process, just like I was telling you. Look at these parts, see what's broken, look at these parts. We then systemized the entire thing. Once they systemized it with scripts and flowcharts and all that stuff, and they taught it to 4 new salespeople who did it exactly the way we taught them. Now, these results are beyond belief. And yet they're true. I mean, I was shocked when this happened, because typically when you scale a sales force, it doesn't scale the same way. But because they had systemized it so precisely, and it was a pretty simple sale, they went from $6 million to $18 million in the 3 months of operating the system. It took them 3 months to build it and 3 months to operate it. Totally mind-blowing, but these kind of results are totally available in your business if you figure out those systems and then duplicate them. So I think that's all I've got. Your mileage may vary. Would you like to talk to them?
You just keep it, but you're doing so good. Here's what I've learned after, over the last, I guess, I'll stand up. I've generated about $58 million in the last 3 years via all the things that I've done. And here's what I've learned is that innovation sucks. Trying to come up with the next really cool thing to do is a soul-destroying, penetrative process that robs you of resources, creativity, and the ability to generate money. Can I get a witness? It sucks. And there's no reason to do it, because if you will just actually stop looking out, since we're all looking out towards finding the next new customer because we're entrepreneurs and we're like, oh, hey, there's a kitty. And something shiny goes by and we want to do that. And oftentimes we think it's all about getting the next new customer. And I apologize for my voice. We had a good time last night. Anybody with me? Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. You owe me about $18,000, by the way. So we're like, oh gosh, there's a customer. And we put all our emphasis and energy into grabbing that new customer. And as it turns out, new customers represent about 1/5 of your business's profit potential. 1/5. So if you take a look at what your business is doing right now, and you say to yourself, am I trying to only go and get new customers? Congratulations. In the next, I don't know, we've seen it happen in 90 days, and we've seen it happen never.
We saw it happen during the new contest.
We saw it happen during a launch contest. You can actually add a 5X next to what it is you put in your pocket. And I don't really care what my top line revenue is. At the end of the day, I care about what I put in my pocket. I would like to think that I have enlightened self-interest. And if anybody understands what this means, please, help me out here. There's naked self-interest, which is I'm gonna make as much money as possible, and every person I meet, including my customer, I'm gonna step on them and use them as the next lily pad to get to more money. And then there's enlightened self-interest, which is, you know what, I wanna be rich. I'm gonna take a whole bunch of people with me on that journey, and we're all gonna get at the top of the mountain together. Right? Isn't that what you guys have the integrity to think that's the kind of business that you want to run? My point is simply this. When you are focusing on the things that, whatever the next launch or whatever the next seminar says you ought to be focusing on, you need to understand that your business is a beautiful thing. You're here. You've created it already. You've done what 99% of the population will never, ever do. You've done the hard part. Don't get freaked out because this stuff seems too easy. Because once I started doing it, I recognized that, you know what? Hey, it's pretty cool to make a couple $1 million a year. Making 20 million is better. Can I get a witness? And I mean, listen, it's not about innovation. Innovation is not the thing that is going to help you out. You're brilliant people. Entrepreneurs are brilliant. We just don't like to do the system things very well, right? Right. I mean, I love it when I see the nodding heads, because those are usually the people that are like have already added the 2x or 3x after the revenue. So when it comes down to actually completing these things, it's about giving yourself a break, not trying to figure out what the next super duper headline is. Guys, I got so sick of writing headlines that in 2006, I had the biggest launch in internet marketing history with the headline that said, "This space intentionally left blank." That was essentially fuck you to innovation. $23 million later, I wanted to use it on every single headline I've ever made. What made StomperNet into a big thing, what's made all my businesses into a big thing, is understanding that that's just one facet of it. And so when you take a look at these things, man, I guarantee you, you don't have to be like Frank. I'm not like Frank. I'd love to be like Frank, but you don't have to be like Frank or Mike Filsame or Paul or anybody up here that you've seen this weekend in order to have an amazing business, because all you have to do is 15%. I beg of you, stop beating yourself up. 2 quick case studies. Guys, is that cool? I'm not even gonna listen. 2 quick case studies. Case study number 1. By actually putting the number of videos, I'm an idiot, in a sales process where I was selling a DVD, by putting the number of videos, I gave the title of DVD, I told them what it was about, it was very cool, and then I ran with it, and it was great. It converted in an upsell process something like 34%. And one of my web designers, not known for strong copywriting skills, right? Anybody here have a web designer that can write great copy? Okay, so there's some truth. He said, "Hey, how many videos on this DVD?" And I'm like, so we went back and we added the number of videos that were on the DVD-ROM, and we doubled our close rate on that. That's the kind of value proposition that we're talking about, not this super innovative, I need Jeff Walker to come and write me a headline kind of thing. I mean, it's just that simple. Case study number 2, in figuring out what your offer or your sales funnel is. Have you guys, anybody here on my newsletter list, seen that I did kind of a quiet internal launch for Stomping the Search Engines 2 for $1, right? Okay, and so everybody's saying, well, how the hell is he making money? It's $1. Let me explain something to you about this. That converts at 14%. I'm pretty happy with that. A lot of people would be happy with it. The upsell process generates $50.82 per customer. So by selling something for $1, let me ask you guys, if we were my affiliates, would you like to mail to an offer from us that was only $1 to your customer? It's cool, right? Because you're thinking, my prospect's not gonna be mad that I'm sending them to a sales letter where they're only asking for $1. And then it turns around that each one of those people is worth $50. But that's just on the front end because there's a transparent, open force continuity that makes each one worth $230? Do you think it would be cool if your business had an offer where the first time your customer shows up, they have to pay you $1, but they end up being worth $230? This is good, yes? This is how profits are made? Thank you all very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed your weekend so far.
Just give it up for Paul and Andy right now.
Thank you.